Hello, Raptors fans, and welcome back to Raptors Report. I'm your host, Julian, and today we're going to be talking about the really exciting game against the Milwaukee Bucks. But before we do that, I want to kind of delve into the Toronto Raptors' hot shooting start to the season. Because before the season started, I was like, I think the Toronto Raptors' defense is going to be good, but can they shoot the ball? And they've kind of taken my expectations and turned them on their head because the Toronto Raptors are kind of shooting the leather off of the ball. And it's the defense that actually looks a little bit shaky, but I don't want to get too far into the negative side of the ledger. So let's stick with the positive and talk about why the Raptors are shooting the ball so well this season and how they're doing it. So as I was mentioning, before the season started, I was like, yes, they've got some guys who can theoretically shoot the ball. But as we all know, as Raptor fans, theory doesn't always equal reality. And a lot of players come in with that pedigree and are not able to show that they can do it for the Raptors, at least. When they put on that Raptors jersey, it seems like the magic touch goes away and they can't make shots anymore. But that really hasn't been the case this season. They currently sit 5th in the NBA in terms of three-point percentage at 39.7%. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but they probably aren't going to remain at that percentage. Maybe they stick around in the top 5 in the NBA, but 39.7% is extremely high. Last season, the Milwaukee Bucks were the best team in the league in terms of shooting the ball at 38.7%. So yeah, sorry to the Toronto Raptors and the 4 teams above them, but that percentage is probably going to come down, but it's still like really good, and I am very happy that the Raptors are shooting well. It's still a big improvement on what I expected. Expected them to be a below average shooting team, and so them being top 5 in that category through 8 games has been a pleasant surprise. So let me start by saying that the Toronto Raptors still don't attempt a ton of three-point attempts. And they are 23rd in the league in terms of three-point attempts at around 33 per game, which is still a lot coming from, an old head like myself who's used to teams taking, far fewer than that, even the teams that took the most. So them being 23rd in the league at 33 a game is not really that surprising. And the reason that they're not shooting a ton of three-point attempts, in my opinion, is because they're still primarily a transition team. So they are 4th in the NBA in terms of transition frequency, and that means like what percentage of their possessions do they use in transition, and they use around 23% of their overall possessions in transition. And the reason that results in fewer threes is that transition is primarily a 2-point attempt. It's going to result in a 2-point attempt most often. I mean, there's some teams and players that like to pull up in transition, but it's still a smaller fraction of the time than a 2-point attempt. And another reason for that is that their 3 main offensive players, Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, and RJ Barrett, they're all primarily 2-point attempt players. They are guys who, in Brandon Ingram's case, like to operate in the mid-range, or in Scotty and RJ's case, they like to take it inside the majority of the time. They also are generally spot-up three-point shooters. When they don't have the ball in their hands, they're standing on the perimeter waiting for a kick-out so that they can attempt a three-point attempt. The only guy who really takes a lot of off-the-dribble three-point shots is Immanuel Quickley. So the vast majority of their offense is geared towards getting those 3 players looks going towards the basket. So with that aside, let's focus on the three-point attempts that they do take. And the reason that they're shooting such a high percentage on three-point attempts is because their shot quality on those shots is very high. So the NBA, in their stats section of their website, track how open the shots teams take are. You can search it for players, but you can also search for teams. And they rate shots based on how open they are. So wide open is that there isn't a defender within 6 feet. There is just open, which is there is a defender between 4 and 6 feet. Then there's tight between 2 and 4 feet, and then very tight, which is within 2 feet. And very few teams take very tight three-point possessions. There are some teams that take tight three-point shots. But the Raptors do very few of either of those. They almost take 0 shots when they're tightly guarded. They are 10th in the league in terms of wide open three-point shot attempts. And they are 3rd from the bottom in terms of simply open three-point shots. So the ratio of wide open shots to simply open shots that they're taking is one of the highest in the entire league. And that means that they're getting just very good quality shots. They are taking a ton of open threes, and for the most part, they are making them. And when you watch the game, this is not really a surprise. They are really moving the ball well. They are passing in open shots to get wide open shots. And a lot of the shot attempts that they're getting come off of penetration. They aren't just simply, shooting for the heck of it. They get the ball into the paint, then they kick it out, swing, shoot an open shot. And that happens almost every time down the floor. They try and get 2 feet into the paint. They try and get it to one of their main scoring options. And then if they need to, they'll pass it back out and get a good shot opportunity on the perimeter. And unlike a lot of teams, it seems like the Raptors are just letting everybody shoot the ball when they're open. A lot of people were worried at the beginning of the season. There were a couple of players with question marks next to their name. Like, are these guys really going to be able to shoot the ball well this season? Guys like Scotty Barnes, guys like RJ Barrett, guys like Jamal Shed. Those guys had some question marks about whether they are going to be able to shoot the ball, even when they're open. And those guys actually have been the Toronto Raptors' best shooters this season. Scotty Barnes is shooting a pretty astounding 48% from three-point range on almost 5 attempts per game. RJ Barrett is shooting 39.5% on over 5 attempts per game. And Jamal Shed, who is in a backup role, he's only playing 17 minutes per game, he's shooting 47% on 2.4 attempts per game. They're letting it fly without hesitation, and they're shooting high quality looks. And I think that there's going to be some statistical regression there. I know, call me a hater, but I don't think Scotty Barnes is going to shoot 48% from 3. I don't think that Jamal Shed is going to shoot 47% from 3. But it just goes to show the sort of mentality and the game plan is that when you're open, they expect you to shoot the ball, and they're going to try and get you good shot opportunities, and they want you to shoot it when you're wide open. And, when you have that mentality and the ball is flowing freely and you're shooting it with confidence, I think you're going to be rewarded. I think that it's a good mentality to have, and it's a good game plan. I think that the offense that Darko has implemented is really helping with this. So first off, the Toronto Raptors are letting a lot of players handle the ball. Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, Brandon Ingram, Emmanuel Quickley, Jamal Shed, even guys like Sandro Mamukelashvili, Grady Dick, all of there's a whole bunch of players that are allowed to drive with the ball, that are allowed to put the ball on the floor, and a lot of those players will drive into the paint and then kick it out. And when they don't have the ball, all of those players are expected to space the floor for the other players who have the ball. And as a result, this kind of free-flowing read and react offense, it allows them to find favorable matchups. So if there's a player that is, undersized guarding a bigger player, we see that a lot with RJ when they're feeling good and he has a guy who he thinks he can get into the post and bully, they'll give him the ball, and then the other team, what do you got to do? A lot of the time you got to bring over some help. Ditto with Scotty Barnes, ditto with Brandon Ingram. Those guys, they're big, they're strong, and when they get into the paint, it forces a rotation. And when you force a rotation, what do? You kick it out, and through some unselfish passing, you're going to find somebody who's open. They're going to be able to put up a good-looking shot attempt. And for the most part, this season, the Toronto Raptors are making teams pay from the perimeter. And as I said, it's not every possession that they're shooting the ball. They're not spamming the 3. They are 23rd in three-point attempt rate, but they're making it count. They are punishing teams for doubling. They are punishing teams for loading up the paint. And they did it a lot last night on against the Milwaukee Bucks. In fact, Scotty Barnes mentioned, he said, the Milwaukee Bucks are a help-focused team. They are a team that likes to help. And as a result, you got to find your teammates on the perimeter and shoot the ball with confidence. And the Toronto Raptors, right off of the bat, found their shooters and banged open shots. They were finding RJ Barrett. They were finding Scotty Barnes. They were finding guys who have confidence and are just letting it fly. And the results were just fantastic. I think that the Toronto Raptors offense looks really good this season. They are up to 9th in offensive rating. They have a top 10 offense, and that is just great to see. I'm super pumped, super happy. And I think that the Toronto Raptors shooting I don't know if this is something that is going to continue for the whole season. I'm kind of holding my breath. It feels like we're kind of walking on air here, waiting for the shoe to drop, but I'm going to enjoy it for now. And if this continues, if the sample size grows and grows and grows and they're able to continue at this rate, I will be pleased and I'll become more confident in it as the season goes on. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. Toronto Raptors shooting, super pumped, super happy. Now let's get to the player evaluations. And man, this was a great game. I really enjoyed watching this one. We will start with the player of the game in the starting lineup. And there's no question here, this was Scottie Barnes' evening. Scottie Barnes had an efficient 23 points on 16 shots, 56% from the field. He was 3 of 5 from 3, so he continues to shoot really well, like another plus 50% shooting night from 3. He was 2 of 2 from the free throw line, and again, I think he should be going to the line more. He had 3 rebounds, so a little light in that department, but his teammates made up for that. 6 assists, 4 steals, 2 blocks, and only 1 turnover, and fantastic defense on one of the best players in the league, one of the greatest players of all time, Giannis Antetokounmpo. In the first half, they had him, started Scottie Barnes against Giannis, but then they went to the bench pretty early and they had Colin Murray-Boyles and Sandro on him. And while I think they did as best as they could, it wasn't as successful. The defense wasn't as successful as when they had Scottie Barnes on him. And when they had Scottie on him, and let me put this out here there right now, okay? Scottie Barnes was not in one-on-one defense against Giannis Antetokounmpo. I don't think that there's really anyone in the league who can guard Giannis Antetokounmpo one-on-one. He is just simply that dominant on the offensive end. So this is not like a one-man show with Scottie Barnes. Scottie Barnes was defending him. He was the primary defender, but they were bringing help to Giannis Antetokounmpo. But even with that said, Scottie did a really good job, really good job of fronting him. So one of the most effective ways of guarding Giannis Antetokounmpo is preventing the entry pass. Scottie Barnes was doing a good job there. A lot of the times they had, especially when Giannis faces up, when he's on the perimeter, Scottie Barnes did a good job staying in front of him, using his hands to make Giannis pick up the dribble. And then when the double comes, Giannis will give the ball up and then they reset or they try and shoot a jump shot. But I really thought it was a good job, and he was locked in trying to guard Giannis Antetokounmpo. They did a really good, not just Scottie again, but Scottie a lot of the time did a super good job of stopping Giannis in transition. And they cut out a lot of that, like putting, the whole team on the offensive glass, trying to get an offensive rebound. You can't do that with Giannis in the game. You got to bring your team back because you got to build that wall in transition. You can't let him catch it with space in the open court because he is so fast. He is so strong. He will take it all the way to the rim. And they just did a good job of doing that, building the wall. And Scottie Barnes was like the foundational piece in that wall. And he did a really good job defensively. But on offense, man, is there anything this guy can't do? He's like a complete player on the offensive side of the ball, shooting threes, scoring inside, scoring through contact, making mid-range shots. He had a really awesome post move on Giannis. He did the shimmy shake, drop step, off glass and one. Wow. Superstar performance from Scottie Barnes. 6 stocks in this game. 4 steals, 2 blocks. Wow. What a game. What a game from Scottie Barnes. He was the best player in this game. Next up, a pretty familiar refrain. RJ Barrett has been on a tear recently. He had 23 points on even more impressive 12 shots. He was 6 for 12 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3, and unfortunately 7 of 12 from the free throw line. So you can't have everything. 58% from the free throw line. You don't like to see that because obviously he has been shooting the free throw a little bit better this season, but a bit of a regression there. With that said, 8 rebounds, that's awesome. 4 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks, and the defense was good this game. He was active. Yeah, the rebounding was really good. The shooting, they are finding him on the perimeter, and he looks so confident taking that shot. And I am just so pleased with the way that RJ Barrett is playing. He is playing just like a different player. And I always felt like he could do this after seeing him in his first season here. He just plays the game the right way on the offensive end. The offensive process is wonderful to watch. He kind of fills in the cracks and does exactly what you need. Whatever the team asks him to do, he's out there doing it. Jakob Poeltl is back, and they had him playing pick and roll with Jakob Poeltl a little bit. I like to see that. I just thought it was a really strong performance from him. 2 blocks in this game, a steal, getting out in transition, a complete game from RJ Barrett. Really like to see this one from him. Next up, the big three, Toronto Raptors big three, doing it again. Brandon Ingram's the third on this list, I think by a pretty decent margin. This was not like a superstar Brandon Ingram game, although I think he did have a good game. He had 13 points on 50% shooting. He was 6 of 12 from the field, 0 of 2 from 3, 1 of 1 from the free throw line, but I really liked what he was doing without having to score the ball. And I think that is a big thing for him, is that everybody knows that he is a primetime scorer, that he can generate shots easily. His pull-up shot and his turnaround jump shot in the mid-range is deadly. Everybody knows that. But what I saw from him this game was a lot of little stuff, especially on the defensive end. He had 8 rebounds, but he also had 2 sick blocks on Giannis Antetokounmpo. One of them may have been like he got away with a bit of a foul, but he's down there, he's battling, and he's he's got long arms, he's engaged down there, he's trying to help out around the basket. And if you're as big as him, if you have as long arms as him, there's really no excuse not to do stuff like that. And we know that he has defensive limitations. I've covered that in the last show that I did, that his lateral foot speed isn't the greatest. And so they have him guarding, the corner, and they expect him to come in and help out around the basket. And he really did last night. 8 rebounds, 8 defensive rebounds. That's exactly what you want to see against a big team. The Bucks are very big in the front court. You need extra help down there, and he provided that. 4 assists is great to see. He creates a lot of space in the half court. He's one of the guys that they let, handle the ball. And as a result, he's going to create open looks for his teammates, and he did that. So I thought it was a good game from him, although not like the superstar performance that we know that he's capable of, but like a good role player performance from him. And if your superstar can have that kind of role player-esque night where he's doing stuff outside of the scoring, that just shows that they can be useful in multiple different ways, and he was able to show that. Next up, we're going to go to Immanuel Quickley. And statistically, I think he had better games this season. So let's talk about the stats, and then we'll talk about what I saw from him. So Immanuel Quickley had 15 points on 15 shots. He was 33% from the field, 2 of 7 from 3, 3 of 3 from the line, 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, 0 blocks, 1 turnover. Okay, you're not like, the stats aren't jumping off the page, but with Immanuel Quickley this season, has it been the stats necessarily? Yeah, the stats haven't looked great, but more than that, he didn't look good playing. He looked like he was dominating the ball too much. He was driving without a purpose. The shots that he was attempting weren't good shots. He wasn't taking what the defense was giving to him. He wasn't, deferring to the better offensive players like the top 3 that we've really seen emerge. It seems like he was being subtractive from that group rather than additive. This game was totally different, and I have a theory for that. This was the first game that we saw Jakob Poeltl really look like his old self. And immediately it makes sense why. So within the first, 5 minutes of the game, Jakob Poeltl set a really good screen for Immanuel Quickley, an off-ball screen. It was on a sidelines out of bounds play. Scotty Barnes had the ball. Jakob Poeltl set one of his trademark, just very strong screens on Ryan Rollins, where he just put his forearm out and pushed Ryan Rollins like slightly a bit of an illegal screen. You kind of have to do that a little bit in the NBA to really free up your guards. Immanuel Quickley got all the way to the basket with Ryan Rollins in a trailing position. Scotty Barnes made an easy pass. Immanuel Quickley gets an easy layup. So guards and centers, they are kind of the yin and yang of the NBA. They help each other play. The guards get the centers open shots because, centers usually can't dribble the ball. They can't create their own offense. The centers provide the screens that free up the guard to get into the lane. Steve, my co-host on the podcast, mentioned this a couple days ago, that Scottie Barnes is a really good player, but the screens he sets are like the slip screens where he is trying to get himself open. And those aren't very positive for Immanuel Quickley's game because he needs help to get his defender off of him in order to create. And with Jakob Poeltl is setting those big beefy screens that let Immanuel Quickley get free. And we saw it a whole bunch. And they were using Immanuel Quickley with Jakob Poeltl in those blended bench groups. They're probably just going to match their minutes 1-to-1, if I were to guess. Just have those two play next to each other almost the entire game, because Yak is going to make it easier for him on the defensive end and on the offensive end with those screens. It was really apparent that Quickley was missing his main screen partner in his bread and butter play, which is the screen and roll. It's going to help him come off of screens shooting the ball better. It's going to give him the separation that he needs in order to be able to shoot shots. I think he's going to look a lot better playing next to Jakob Poeltl. And I thought this game was visually, even maybe not from a statistical standpoint, but if you were to talk to anybody who were to watch the game, and I mean, if you watch the game too, you would have seen that he looks like a different player. He looks like he belongs on the team rather than this sort of fourth wheel next to the other three top dogs on the Raptors. And so I think this was a positive development. I think he did have a good game, and I think he outplayed his counterparts. Last time the Raptors played the Milwaukee Bucks, he got beaten up by Ryan Rollins and Cole Anthony. Both of them looked better than him. And in this game, I think he outplayed both of them. So huge development. I think he had a good game, and just hope to see more of that. And last but not least, the man in the middle, the guy coming back from injury, guy in a minutes restriction, Jakob Poeltl. I think he had a really good game. Maybe he should have come in fourth, but I wanted to give Immanuel Quickley a bit of love here because he has been, really struggling, but this was a good game from him. I wanted to give him a shout out, but I think Jakob Poeltl also had a good game. 8 points in 20 minutes. That's really good for your center. He was 4 of 6 from the field, also good. 9 rebounds, huge. 3 offensive, and he was moving like he should. It did not look like he was still injured. I love to see that. That is so huge. His mask is gone. I think that was bothering his shot and his peripheral vision. He wasn't able to pass as well or, see players in his peripheral vision. That's obviously, if you've played any sport, you're using your peripheral vision all of the time, even though you don't notice it. So I'm just happy that he's back. I'm happy that he's looking right. I'm happy that he's moving well. On defense, that is massive because that's one of his strengths as a big, is that he can move his feet and he can get to places on the floor. He can come out to the perimeter and retreat to the basket. He's in the right place almost all of the time. And while he's not like, a huge rim deterrent, a huge shot blocker or anything like that, he didn't have any blocks last night. He is a positional defender and he does a good job there. And he did a good job last night on both ends of the court. That they love using him on offense and his screens. I thought that the Raptors played well with him in the game on both ends. And, I'm just happy that he's back and he doesn't look bad, because I think a lot of people were saying it's like, this guy sucks, kind of forgetting what he was like last season, forgetting how good he was last season for the Toronto Raptors. So I'm really happy that he's back. Off the bench, you got to give this one to Mamu. Sandro Mamukelashvili was a revelation last night. He was so good. 15 points on 6 of 12 shooting, 3 of 5 from 3. And the big thing, so the rebounding, 7 rebounds in 23 minutes, that's huge. 1 assist, 0 steals, 0 blocks, 1 turnover, and good defense. He was one of the main cogs in the help defense scheme that they were playing against Giannis. And while Sandro is not like a true big, like he's not a real center, they play him as a center off of the bench. And the way that they do it is that they play that kind of help-heavy style where it's help and recover. And obviously, he's not an amazing shot blocker, but what he can do is move his feet. And they were using him to double Giannis with him playing either as the helper or the primary defender. And they mixed it up, just basically just having him around Giannis Antetokounmpo. He was one of the guys who was there, who was helping, keep the ball away from him. And then when he did catch the ball, trying to make it tough for him to score around the basket. And it wasn't always successful. Like Giannis had a bunch of and one calls on Sandro. But guess what? Okay. With a guy as good as Giannis Antetokounmpo, you are just trying your best, right? You're trying to make him miss as often as he can. You're not going to be able to stop him. You just want to slow him down. And I saw a lot of possessions where Mamu was able to slow him down. He was helping in transition. He was doing all of the stuff that you want to see. The rotations were smart. And then the X-outs, like once Giannis gave the ball out, he was able to recover when he was the help defender on him. I think a very strong night from him on both ends of the ball. He is one of the guys that, I wasn't sure, like add him to the guys that I wasn't sure if his shooting was going to translate. He's starting to show some consistency with that shot. 3 of 5 from 3 last night. That was huge. That really punishes a help-heavy defensive system like the Milwaukee Bucks. They were leaving him open and he was making them pay. He hit a lot of shots there last night. 3 of 5 from 3. And the rebounding, I mentioned this before the season. Rebounding is a pretty stable stat, you can expect it's an effort stat, it's a size stat, and he does put in the effort. He does put in the effort to box out. He does put in the effort to go and get the boards. 4 offensive rebounds. That's great. He had a really nice rebound where he caught a one-handed rebound and kicked it back out. Just a great night from Sandro. And this guy has juice. This guy can ball. I really like watching him play. He's got game. Next up, this is a tough one. Because I think that there were a couple of guys that deserve a shout out here, maybe for second. I'll give it to Jamal Shed. That might be a little controversial, especially with the scoring. He had 5 points on 4 shots. He was 1 of 4 from the field. He did make a 3. He was 1 of 3 from 3. He was 2 of 2 from the free throw line. 2 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 steals, 0 blocks, and only 1 turnover. I thought he was fantastic. He's a guy who really knows how to play. He's a really unselfish player that likes to reward his teammates and find his teammates in their spots. And a lot of the time, in certain circumstances with maybe other teams, you would want like a 6th man type who is a gunner who comes in and tries to put up as many shots as possible. But with the Toronto Raptors, the way that they do it is that they use those blended bench lineups a lot. And he is going to be playing with the starter the majority of the time. So he's going to be asked to maybe bring the ball up the floor, run a set, and then give the ball to a guy who's going to score the ball. 8 assists, that just goes to show that like he knows what his role is, which is to be a distributor. And he's doing it really well. Like he's running the pick and roll super well. He is finding players in their spots. He plays with a lot of flash and panache, and he likes to get into the lane. That is the thing about him. It's either, spot up 3-point attempt, or he's getting into the lane and then finding somebody. He found Scotty Barnes a bunch of times with just nice pocket passes right in next to the basket. I think that he just is a little, engine. And he's very disruptive. Like he had 2 steals. He likes to get out in transition. He plays the way I think that the team likes to play. In transition, fast, and ball sharing. And I think he's invaluable. So I love the way that he played. Next up, big bounce back night. Big bounce back night. Just when I was out, he drags me back in, Grady Dick, with a huge bounce back performance. I thought the game that he had the last night against the shorthanded Memphis Grizzlies was kind of, as I mentioned, like, could this be a stepping stone? I don't think it was a good game because he wasn't great on defense and he missed a whole bunch of shots, but it's like could be a confidence builder for him. That game was like, you could see him start to get a bit of mojo coming back. This game was where that kind of maybe stepping stone game paid off. He had 14 points on 3 of 4 shooting. He was 3 of 4 from 3. Finally, a good 3-point shooting game. He was 5 of 6 from the free throw line because he was being aggressive. He was driving the ball into the paint. He had one other stat. He had 1 rebound and no other stats, but also no turnovers. And he was a plus 15 on the game. I think this was a positive game for him. The Bucks weren't able to punish his defense. I mean, credit where credit's due. This is kind of what you hope for, that there's not going to be a ton of, you're not going to be hemorrhaging points on the other end. And yes, the Raptors have to help him when he's on the perimeter. There were a couple of times where, he wasn't able to keep his guy in front of him, but, either Jacoby Walter would come over and help, or another player would come in and sort of pick up his guy, let him recover a bit. They can bounce back out. Like, it wasn't like a disaster on the defensive end. And then on the offensive end, his teammates were finding him in a position to shoot. He had a couple of plays where he was the guy who was not being guarded, and he was able to can the shots. No hesitation, just right up with the shot, and it went up and in. Great. Amazing. I still would love to see him be able to utilize more screens and movement when he is shooting the ball. He's still a standstill shooter, still spot up. But, I'll take the wins where I can get them with Grady. I hope that he can continue to build his confidence, especially on this game, especially 14 points. That's quite a bit. 75% from 3-point range and the field. He only took threes this game. And then 5 of 6 from the free throw line. That's the other thing, is that he was able to get inside and they fouled him there. So good game from him. And another positive game, Jacoby Walter. He also had a good game on offense, I'll say, because there were a couple of possessions on defense where he was a little too small. They were able to get past him and score, but he had 8 points on 2 of 3 shooting. He was 1 of 2 from 3, 3 of 3 from the line, 3 rebounds, 1 offensive, and 1 turnover. So he only played 11 minutes. A lot of it was in garbage time, but I want to see him also build his confidence. And I'm glad that the Raptors were able to kind of put the Bucks to bed early so that he could get some stress-free minutes where he's not coming in and, squeezing the ball tight or being expected to produce. I would like to see him get back to that form that I think I saw from him last season, where he was like a real on-ball menace and being like extremely disruptive. I think last night, Steve mentioned it on the podcast. He's wearing that t-shirt under his jersey. And a lot of the time that just means that, you don't have the muscle mass. You're still a little skinny. Maybe he needs to add a bit of weight. I don't know, but I thought he played well last night, especially on offense. He was hitting his shots and kind of playing free and loose and contributing. So I enjoyed what I saw from him. Colin Murray-Boyles had an off night. I'll just mention him briefly. He only had 2 points on 1 of 3 shooting. He played 15 minutes, only had 1 rebound and 1 turnover. He was asked to guard Giannis. And, he is asked to guard a lot of really tough matchups. But Giannis is a different breed. The guy is he even human? The guy is like an absolute monster. And every time CMB tried to guard him, it looked like Giannis was just getting into the paint easily against him. There was not a ton of resistance. Scotty Barnes kind of, bridged that gap in the second half. CMB didn't really play much in the second half, pretty much because they were matching Scotty Barnes' minutes up with Giannis wisely, because CMB couldn't really guard him. So not a great game from CMB, but he's a rookie. I'm not going to get too bent out of shape, and he's shown me some stuff in other games, so not going to get too worried. In any case, a couple other players played, but let's get to the final thoughts here. I thought this was a really positive game. Obviously, you really have to mention, this was a bit of a schedule win here. The Milwaukee Bucks were on the second night of a back-to-back. The Toronto Raptors are at home. And as I mentioned, the Toronto Raptors had 2 kind of fugazi wins in a row. The Cavs were missing everybody. The Grizzlies were missing Ja, and they don't have anybody else who can really put pressure on a defense. So the Raptors got 2 kind of schedule wins there to build up their confidence. And then they kind of paid it off against the Milwaukee Bucks on the second night of a back-to-back. There looked like there was some fatigue there. Their guards were not very efficient. They were missing a lot of 3-point shots. Giannis, obviously, he's a machine, but maybe there was a bit of tired legs there too. He maybe didn't fight as hard as he could have to get free of those double teams and those, when they were fronting him. So, Raptors looked really, really good. I don't want to take too much away from them because they did win by like a massive margin, 28 points. They blew the doors off the Milwaukee Bucks. So even if the Milwaukee Bucks weren't at 100%, the Raptors, it was a no doubt win. They led pretty much from wire to wire. Like the Bucks kept it pretty even in the first quarter, but after that, the Raptors kind of just blew them away, especially in the second half. The second half, there was no contest. The Raptors were playing loose, playing free, playing easy, shooting open shots and making them, playing tough defense on Giannis, making it hard for him to catch, hard for him to go up and finish. And then the shooting just wasn't there for the Bucks. I think that the Raptors were closing out well too. I don't think that there were a ton of like super easy looks from good shooters. Of course, Bobby Portis, he was 0 of 5 from 3, and he was shooting a ton of open shots. But, like, come on, it's Bobby Portis. He's not the greatest three-point shooter. Guys like Cole Anthony, AJ Green had a good shooting night. Even Gary Trent, he was 2 of 4 from 3, but he wasn't a huge factor. There were not a ton of guys who really popped off for the Milwaukee Bucks other than Giannis, and they kind of contained Giannis. And as a result, it was a blowout victory for the Raptors. And really, honestly, after I think that and the Atlanta Hawks game were the best wins of the season, they are now 500 and they are going on a road trip. So let's talk about the upcoming road trip. They're going to be on the road for the next 5 games. First game they play is on Friday at 7:30 against the Atlanta Hawks. So it's a rematch. It's another away game versus the Hawks. They beat them in Atlanta the first time around, but they're missing Trae Young. Trae Young is out with a knee injury. I said on social media, I was like, maybe this is a Ewing Theory event. And Ewing Theory was something coined by Bill Simmons a while ago, where he mentioned that the Knicks always played better without Patrick Ewing. I think that maybe the Hawks, without Trae Young's like garbage pail defense, maybe they'll be actually look a little bit better, although they are lacking in terms of creation. But yeah, I mean, that is also a cup game. The NBA Cup, the midseason tournament. The Toronto Raptors are 1-0. The Cleveland game that they played, that they won, was also a cup game, so they're going to look to go 2-0 in the cup. And, you know, we respect the cup in this household, so hopefully they're able to win that one. They play Philadelphia on the weekend on Saturday, then they play the Nets. Then they play the Cleveland Cavaliers next week on Thursday, and then they close out that road trip against the Indiana Pacers. So the Nets suck. They are one of the worst teams in the league. The Philadelphia 76ers have been playing really good basketball. They have a super rookie, VJ Edgecombe, looks amazing. Tyrese Maxey's playing the most minutes in the league, but he's also just like playing dynamite. He's multiple 40-point games. That'll be a tough one to win. Joel Embiid is back. He's on a minutes restriction, but he's still, you know, stuffing the stat sheet. He looks really good. The Cleveland Cavaliers, who knows how healthy they're going to be, so it'll be another probably a tough game. They almost lost that game when they were down 1 million players to the Raptors, so yeah, that's going to be a tough one to win as well. But then the Indiana Pacers, they're really struggling. They're super injured, so maybe they can come away with like a 3-2 record. That's what I hope. If they're 2-3, I'm not going to get too bent out of shape about it, but I will be very happy sitting at 500 after 8 games. I think that that's a pretty good outcome just based on how hard the schedule has been to this point. In any case, thank you for watching. That is the episode. Hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also hit the bell icon so you know when new videos go live. Also join the Discord. We are adding new members almost every time I upload a video. Hop over there. Also follow Raptors Report on all the different social media channels. I'll put a link in the description. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Raptors Report, your source for in-depth Raptors content.